What about my love? Wasn't it enough? Just let me know so I
So
can
𝗕𝘂𝘀𝗶𝘲𝘀 article from On3 said that he predicts that the dark horse of the CFP, and he was very vocal about this, is that Rutgers could find themselves into the fold. Now, yay or nay, gentlemen, do we think that this is absolutely crazy or no?
I think it's far-fetched, but he makes a good point when he says that their schedule is what would do the trick, because they avoid the big teams. They don't play Michigan, Ohio State,
and Penn State
or Penn State.
Yeah.
The most difficult team they play is USC.
And maybe Nebraska, depending on how they are.
And yeah, Nebraska. They also have Wisconsin and Washington, but like I kind of view those teams as like, you know, in the same tier as Rutgers at this point, if not a little lower. So I think it's far-fetched still, but I wouldn't say he's outright crazy. I mean, look, if Rutgers can put together a solid season, they have the schedule that would allow them to enter the playoff, right? I mean, as we saw last year with the top 11 teams in the country and their records, is 10-2 is good enough to get you into being the top 11 teams in the country, right? Why not 12? Well, because of the group of 5 champion or whatever. So top 11 teams last year all had 2 losses max. So if Rutgers can get through the schedule with only 2 losses, yeah, they absolutely are at least in the conversation, if not in. So, I mean,
I did want to note some of these teams that they play too. Like, you know, I could see them taking a loss to Virginia Tech for sure. They're playing in Blacksburg, but they play Washington at home.
I'm about to say Washington will be interesting to see.
They might take a loss to Nebraska because Nebraska's playing at home against them, but the Badgers come to them. UCLA comes to them, and they already got to take that's the long way. That's the opposite side of the country.
Yes.
And then USC, which were the one that we were talking about that could be a loss for Rutgers. But when you think about it, that's what, 2 conference losses? And I could definitely see a 2-loss team getting into the CFP. We've talked about this before. I think 3-loss teams for sure are not going to be in.
You would need a lot of help, a lot of other 3-loss teams in order to make it in. Like, just looking at the landscape last year, like 2 losses is kind of your minimum threshold. Like, if you drop a 3rd game, you got to be preying on other teams to screw up.
Is there a website out there that you could fill out every single schedule and it'll fill out what the CFP would be? Because I mean, I would spend a couple hours doing that just to see where everything ends up for me.
I don't have a website. I mean, I just
whoever did that, that's a lot of work, but you know, if there is one out there.
Whenever we do these predictions, I just make a spreadsheet for each conference and I pick every single game. So like, I mean, even in the SEC, which we'll get to soon, like I predicted every game for Vanderbilt and Mississippi State, even though we all know darn well they're not going to even come close to Atlanta. So I mean, I get if you did that again.
What? I'm sorry.
What?
Repeat what you said.
I predict every single game. For the conferences that we do, including, you know, every Vanderbilt and every Mississippi State game, even though they're clearly not going to be a runner-up or winner of the conference. I predict all of their games just because.
Yeah, apparently there is a website out there that you can do it. So that's pretty cool. I might be
neato. Yeah, you might have to send the link to us.
Yeah,
interesting. This is the thing that I miss about the BCS, man, because cool, 2 losses, but if you haven't played anybody, man, and if the losses are the teams that are the actual good teams that you've played against, I mean, I don't know. And here's also another thing that we're looking at is if you're going to be in the playoffs for Rutgers, let's be real, they're not making it to the Big Ten Conference Championship game. I mean, right off the bat, 4 of those spots have already been, or 4 of those spots, but 4 teams pretty much already a lock for that. It just depends on how their schedule goes. Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State, and Michigan. You can maybe throw in USC. Who knows what Iowa's going to look like, all that stuff. So right now in the
Who
Big
gives a
Ten,
hoot,
which
Sor?
is
Kennesaw
not the
State
Big
does.
Ten. Okay, well, Kennesaw State's not in the Big Ten, so I don't
We
care
can
about
change
them
that.
right now. No, they're not
Yeah, we
already
can do
going to
that.
win the game.
We can customize the conferences.
Dante, they're already not winning a game, brother. You are putting them in the 7 depths of hell right now.
I'm in my second season. We only won 1 game so far. Leave me alone.
Exactly. And you want to put them in the Big Ten? No. But again, it's just already you kind of have to bank on being in a tough conference, which yes, the Big Ten is, but you are not one of the tough teams in the Big Ten. You have to bank on being in the Big Ten championship. Again, probably not going to happen because you have to deal with the likes of Oregon, Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan. Those 4 are pretty much a lock. Unfortunately, 2 of them have to go.
Mm-hmm.
So, and even then, all 4 of those teams could end up in the playoffs. So you're looking at the final spot of like 11 or 12. And again, this is the thing that I miss about the BCS, because even with 2 losses, if Rutgers somehow gets 2 losses, and they're being looked at for the 11th or 12th team, some other team is going to have, the committee's going to look at who all they played, and there's going to be some team that has gone through more of a gauntlet, and they're going to be put. I don't think Rutgers to the CFP is happening. Kirk, you're great. You the homie, man. I don't know what you was on.
I don't know. I don't know what's happening here, brother.
Too much ashwagandha, bro. He's been hanging around Aaron Rodgers too much.
And see that the interesting thing that you bring up there is like the easy schedule is both. Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, right? It can enable you to win a lot of games, but if it's between you and another team and you have an easier schedule, right? It's going to come back to bite you because they're going to take this team with the same record but had a harder schedule or had better wins. So it's like. Yeah,
it's great that they're not facing Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State. They're not even facing Iowa. They're not facing Oregon. They have a very easy schedule. But at the end of the day, that's great. Get you 10 wins. Get you only 2 losses. That's great. But they're going to pick the team that's gone through more and deserves it more versus the shellacking that would happen to you if you got it. It would be another Georgia FSU. It's 63-3 all over again if Rutgers got in off of that easy schedule versus like I don't know. Let's say Ohio State got 2 losses and Rutgers got in over them. This is just a hypothetical situation. And Rutgers got in over them. Or sorry. Ohio State had 3 losses and Rutgers had 2 losses. Ohio State went through, much more of a rougher schedule, but Rutgers has, more wins. So we're going to put them in at the 12th spot. That's great. You've now sent a deer, or you've now sent a lamb to the slaughterhouse, basically. Ohio State is going to, a 3-loss Ohio State team would put up more of a fight in the playoffs than a 2-loss Rutgers team who faced nobody, who faced none of the top teams in the Big Ten.
I agree. Dana makes a good point. Also, if Notre Dame is good this year, that's 1 less spot. I think everybody's probably banking on Notre Dame taking one of those spots.
Yeah, Notre Dame will get like between 8 to 12 spot probably.
Their transfer portal were pretty good. I mean, like we mentioned before, Bo Collins, obviously Riley Leonard.
Yeah.
I mean,
RJ Oben,
who, if he did not get injured, would have been the best quarterback in the ACC. I'm just saying.
Who's that safety that they got? What's his name? Xavier Watts.
Yeah. And they have Ben Morrison, the corner.
Mm-hmm.
And Howard Cross at D tackle. They have a really good defense. At least on paper.
And people be sleeping on Marcus Freeman, man. I've been saying that for what he did, for as poverty ridden that Notre Dame has been over the last couple of years, for him to have built that program back up with 2 quarterbacks that were, well, Sam Hartman, obviously last year, but Sam Hartman didn't really have a lot on that offense to actually put together. Nobody knew who any of those receivers were, let's be honest.
No.
Outside of Merriweather, and the one light-skinned kid, I forget his name.
Jaden Greathouse. He's from Westlake in Austin. That's the only reason why I know him is because he's from Austin.
Yeah.
And then other than that, you had Audric Estime, and that was about it.
Yeah.
I mean, their defense was good. I mean, we can obviously say that, but outside of that, man, like what Marcus Freeman has had to deal with the last couple of years, and they've been going up like this. Brian Kelly left him in a bad spot.
Mm-hmm.
And Marcus Freeman is not the recruiter that Brian Kelly is, unfortunately. No. And he's dealing. And then you're dealing with what Mike Elko was dealing with: academics, being a Catholic school, like all that stuff matters. So I know people like to crap on Notre Dame over the years, but the thing is like, yes, they should join a conference, but also dealing with the academics and being a Catholic school too is something that you also have to overcome. Just is what it is. It's the reality of it. But getting back to Rutgers, I don't think this is such a crazy idea. Their program has been getting better and better and better with Greg Schiano. They got 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝗶𝗲𝘀𝗀 from Minnesota out there, who's an upgraded quarterback, to be completely honest. Do I think he's the end-all, be-all? No, but Greg Schiano being your coach definitely helps over PJ Fleck, to be honest, too. And then their offensive coordinator, I forget his name, also came over that helped coach and help recruit 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝘀𝘀𝗀 too. So he gets a little bit of
𝗕𝘂𝘀𝘀𝘀𝗀.
Yeah. Yeah. So, he gets a little bit of a familiar place as well. And that all matters too. And that probably mattered in the decision of why Athens even transferred out to Rutgers. But Greg Schiano's a hell of a coach, man. I mean, when I remember the days when Rutgers and Maryland said that they was going to the Big Ten, I was like, they're going to suck forever. And Maryland's had their points in time where they would come up close against Ohio State. They would play them tough for three quarters.
Ohio State, Michigan. Yeah,
I had them on my sub alert multiple times, and then that fourth quarter came, and then the boys just fell apart. But Rutgers, I mean, if you look at their records over the years, 7-win season here, 8-win season here, like they've been really good. And they showed that I won't say that they belong in the Big Ten. I think they would still have more success in the ACC, especially now the way that the ACC is.
Yeah.
But they're, it's only going to get harder from here. But the thing about Rutgers is they got thrown a Christmas present this year with that schedule. Let's be completely honest.
They sure did.
They did. But at the end of the day, I feel like that's going to hurt them more than help them. I mean, again, even with that schedule, 3 losses, you can forget any talk about it. Yeah, it's already going to be difficult for a 3-loss team to get in, and with the strength of your schedule, just if Rutgers gets 3 losses, they can forget about it.
Yeah, facts.
All
right.
Honestly, Rutgers needs to either go. I mean, obviously undefeated, and if they're undefeated, then sure, yeah, they get in. If you have 1 loss, that's going to be the best chance. Even with 2 losses, I don't think they get in.
Yeah,
they either got to go undefeated or have 1 loss.
Well. What have we found ourselves in here? The
2-hour show.
Yeah, man. The 2-hour shows are great because we get into great discussions.
I never said they weren't great.
It's been a while.
I said they weren't great. I'm just answering your question.
Let's go back here. Dana says, how many spots can you give to Big Ten, though? Are Michigan, Ohio State getting in? Northwestern, Penn State? I don't know that Rutgers beats out any of them.
Oregon, USC, depending on what they look like,
Ohio State has a difficult schedule. Michigan has a difficult schedule. Penn State has a difficult schedule. So, I mean, we already said that Penn State could walk out of there with 3 losses. If Rutgers has a 2-win schedule, they beat out Penn State. Penn State's not getting in. I mean, again, we're not part of the committee, so this is what me and Khalid were talking about the other day, that you have to put the computers in there, man.
Yeah.
Put the computers. We need the computers back.
Go back to the BCS, man. Thanks for... People actually had to schedule tough teams if they wanted to get in. Those were the good old days.
Well, you remember when they messed up by making... What was it? Like
Condoleezza Rice on the committee? Yeah.
What was it? Yeah, Condoleezza Rice being on the damn committee was stupid. But when Minnesota was like ranked like 23rd and then they went up to like 14 or something like that.
Yeah.
And then they proceeded to get beat down the rest of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, oops.